So, ahead of today's tabling of the police budget vote in Parliament, Minister Senzo Mchunu has assured the public that the SABC will prioritise advanced technology to better fight crime in the country. Mchunu briefed the media in Pretoria yesterday, outlining some of the priorities for the ministry in the 7th administration. For more on this, let's bring in the chair of the Institute for Security Studies Board, Yaki Silias, who's also the head of African Futures and Innovation. It's great to have you on the program, Yaki. Thanks very much indeed for making time to speak to us. You know, in the past, the police ministry has always been criticised for a misalignment of its priority, at least insofar as how it spends its money. Some of the things being cited already this morning is the amount of money that goes, for example, to VIP protection as a proportion of the amount of money spent on fighting gender-based violence in the country. I wonder, as a start, whether you have any expectation of his budget today.
Good morning. I think it's early days. The police have a vast budget of, I think, 104 billion rand per year, which is increasing by about 4% every year. I think our main comment, let me first make the point that the priorities that the police minister laid out make a lot of sense. His job is to provide strategic direction on how to professionalize SABC. I think our concern has been for many, many years that the response of the police to the challenges that we face are to employ more staff that really to put more boots on the ground, whereas they need to strategically orientate the budget towards detectives, firearms control, priority crimes. Now, the minister seems to point to all of these areas, but I think it's probably too early to expect that these priorities will be reflected in the budget that will be presented. I expect that that budget will largely have been created by and been led by Bekele, the previous minister. And maybe there is time now to prioritize and to look towards the establishment of policing that really doesn't reflect a sort of a knee-jerk response to trying to rush around the country and act as if you are the National Police Commissioner, and really to provide strategic direction to restructure and reformulate a police that can really deal with the priorities of violent crime in South Africa.
And where does one start in doing that? I mean, part of what we've always kind of, learned and appreciated, I suppose, is that the police themselves are stretched, whether it's resource-wise, whether it comes to the ratio of police to the population. And so in that kind of context, what does that kind of strategic approach look like?
I think it starts with prioritization, and the minister yesterday set out, I think it was 8 priorities or 9 priorities, which I think is a good start. I think I was recently on a trip in which to Germany, in which the police revealed that they have something like 102 strategies. You need to prioritize, and the critical thing to that is the appointment of appropriate leadership and management, highly motivated and capable leadership whose integrity is beyond doubt, and they have to be appointed not by the president, who appoints the National Police Commissioner, but you need a real process in which the senior appointments in the police are really made through a process that focuses on their judgment, on their integrity, on their effectiveness, on their capacity really to be able to implement, and not on cadre deployment or political interference. And that process really started with the the negative process really started with the appointment of Jackie Selebi in 2000, who in the 8 years that he was the National Police Commissioner literally destroyed the police. And we've been struggling to recover from that ever since.
Yeah, that kind of, let's call it tenuous relationship sometimes between the minister and the commissioner has been around for a while. And I know there's also been calls that perhaps we need to find a better way of making sure that these two people can work well together. Even in this instance, Senzo Mchunu is coming into a situation where the police commissioner, as you mentioned, is elected by the president and comes from a previous administration and kind of has to find a way to help even this commissioner get more alignment with his own priorities, if you know what I mean. And I wonder if there's a better way of making sure that there's synergy between these two roles, even as we roll over from one administration to another.
Well, I think the National Development Plan for many, many years have called for a process where the National Police Commissioner is appointed on the basis of competence. Identified, a shortlist perhaps of 3 names are given to the President, and the President then chooses a National Commissioner from there. Those are the kind of recommendations that we have to move forward on, because if the Police Commissioner is appointed based on professionalism, conduct, ethics, capacity, you won't have a situation where a minister comes in and then doesn't like the National Commissioner. We have to protect and professionalize our entire civil service, but including the police. And the best way to do that is to make sure that competence rises to the top. And if you have competent senior leadership, you won't have the problem that heads of departments are appointed for political purposes or because of problems in terms of the collaboration. This has been an enduring problem of South Africa. You may remember I used the example of Jackie Selebe. He left, of course, Foreign Affairs, it was called in those days, because of a fight that he had with his Minister of Foreign Affairs at that point, Dlamini Zuma. So this kind of reshuffling over the deck chairs really has to stop. And the only way you can do that is through a professional system of identification and appointment of senior leadership within the within government, within the civil service.